The golden age of second passports is over, and in the next 15 minutes I will show you what ended it, what replaced it, and which structured door is still wide open. For about a decade, the market was almost embarrassingly generous. A Caribbean passport for roughly $100,000, European residence for the price of an apartment, background checks that felt like a formality. Families planned their entire future around prices that looked permanent. They were not permanent. In the last 2 years, three forces dismantled that world piece by piece: courts and politics in Europe, a coordinated price revolution in the Caribbean, and the loudest signal of all, the United States itself walking into the market with a gold card and a price tag that reset expectations across the entire industry. If your life, your wealth, and your freedom of movement all depend on a single country, this video is your map of the new era. Stay with me, because the door that survived the storm is not the one most people expect. Every era of easy movement ends the same way. Security politics beats convenience. Conflicts in Europe and the Middle East pushed governments back into a defensive posture. Border rules tightened. Visa policy became a bargaining chip between states, and banks quietly doubled the size of their compliance departments. Here is the part most people miss. None of this happened through one big dramatic law. It happened through a change in mood, and when the mood changes, the paperwork follows. Applications that once received a polite formality review now receive genuine scrutiny of where the money comes from, how it moved, and who it belonged to along the way. Travel changed too. Entry systems went digital, waivers came under review, and questions multiplied at the border. The message from the system is simple. Movement is no longer assumed, it is granted. And anything that is granted can be priced, regulated, and withdrawn. That single sentence explains almost everything that follows in this video. Look at the European sequence, because it is not random. Spain ended its golden visa last year after an intense national housing debate. Portugal had already steered its program away from simple property purchases and toward funds and productive investment. And the citizenship route in Malta was closed after the highest European court ruled that the nationality of a member state cannot rest on payment alone. Let me be fair, none of these countries did anything wrong. Each made a sovereign choice under real political pressure, and the logic behind each choice is understandable, but the direction is unmistakable. Europe no longer sells speed. Europe sells connection, genuine relocation, genuine presence, genuine structure. Strong residence options absolutely still exist across the continent, and countries like Greece, Portugal, Latvia, and France remain serious, legitimate routes when they are set up properly. What died was not Europe. What died was the shortcut mentality, the idea that a transfer and a signature could replace an actual plan. Then came the Caribbean, the historic price floor of this entire market. For years, the entry ticket hovered around $100,000, and the islands competed with each other on speed and cost. Then 5 island nations moved together and lifted the floor to around $200,000. Understand what that means. This was not one country testing demand. It was a coordinated agreement, and they went further, creating a shared regional regulator approved by the parliaments of all 5 states with common standards for vetting, pricing, and enforcement. I want to be honest here. This is professionalization, not decline. Stronger vetting protects the long-term value of those passports, and the islands deserve credit for it. But for buyers, 2 things ended forever: the discount era and the light touch review. Every file now gets a deeper look, from the source of funds to the family documents. The Caribbean lesson fits in one sentence: when supply gets organized, prices rise and standards rise with them. If one single event marks the end of the old era, it is this one. The United States, under President Trump, introduced its gold card, permanent residence positioned at a headline figure of $5 million. Think about what that signals. For decades, the American route ran through job creation and enterprise investment. Now the largest economy on earth openly puts a direct price on access. I will be careful here, because the fine print of the American program is still moving through rules and legal challenges, and the final shape may differ from the headline. But the signal does not depend on the fine print. When Washington says access to America is worth millions, every other program on the planet reprices upward in response, and every government watching concludes that citizenship and residence are strategic national assets. That is the definition of the new era. Fewer doors, higher prices, harder questions, and a market where amateurs get filtered out at the first review. So what actually survives in a world of regulators, courts, and doubled prices? Not the cheapest passport, the cleanest structure. Here is the shift most people never make. In the old era, the market competed on price, so buyers learned to shop for numbers. In the new era, every serious program asks the same questions. Where does the money come from? Is the valuation real? Is every family document complete and properly issued? Does the tax story behind the applicant actually make sense? A price is a number. A structure is a system that answers those questions before anyone asks them. This is the core of how we think at Corpenza. The winners of this era are not the people who found the lowest figure. They are the people whose files survive scrutiny in any jurisdiction, on any desk, in any language. Structure beats price. Keep that sentence, because everything else in this video is built on top of it. Now the door that survived. While Europe closed citizenship routes and the Caribbean doubled its floor, Turkey kept a citizenship by investment program that is written into law, has operated for years, and remains open today. The shape is clear. Route 1 is real estate. You purchase property with a total value of at least $400,000, confirmed by an official licensed valuation report, and you commit not to sell for 3 years, with that commitment recorded directly on the title deed. Route 2 is capital. A deposit of $500,000 held in a regulated Turkish bank for 3 years, with government bonds or a fixed capital investment accepted at the same level. One application covers you, your spouse, and your children under 18 in a single file. There is no physical residence requirement, there is no language exam, and Turkey permits dual citizenship. Processing is typically measured in months rather than years. And because numbers and timelines are exactly the kind of detail that moves in this market, the current figures are something we confirm inside your own file before you move a single dollar. And here is where I refuse to sell you a dream. This program rewards correct execution and punishes sloppy files. The valuation must reflect reality. Overpay for the wrong property at an inflated price, and you own a problem, not a passport. The money must travel through the banking system in a documented, traceable way, because an unexplained transfer is a rejection waiting to happen. The deposit route only works if the funds genuinely stay in place for the full holding period. Every certificate for every family member must be complete, current, and properly issued. None of this is a flaw in the program. This is simply what a serious program looks like in the new era, and it is precisely why the Turkish route still stands while lighter ones disappeared. The opportunity is real. The risk lives entirely in the execution. That is why the first question we ask at Corpenza is never which passport you want. It is whether your funds, your documents, and your story are built to pass inspection. There is a second layer that makes the Turkish story bigger than a passport. From the start of this year, Turkish law offers a remarkable incentive to newcomers who genuinely settle in the country. Individuals who become tax resident in Turkey and who were not tax resident there during the previous 3 calendar years can benefit from an exemption from income tax on their foreign source earnings and investment income for 20 years. Read the boundaries carefully because they matter. It applies to real persons only, not to companies. It covers foreign source income only, and anything you earn inside Turkey is taxed under the normal rules. And it is tied to genuinely establishing residence, which is a separate decision from the citizenship program itself, since citizenship requires no residence at all. Used correctly, the combination is powerful. A citizenship route that stays open, plus a 2-decade structural incentive for those who choose to make Turkey their base. How this maps onto your specific income picture is exactly what we clarify case by case in your file. Now the uncomfortable part. In this market, waiting has a price history, and it only moves in one direction. The Caribbean floor doubled, European routes closed or transformed into something slower and deeper. America entered at a headline of millions. I cannot name one major program that became cheaper or easier in recent years. Not a single one. If you are waiting for the old prices to return, you are waiting for an era that has already ended. That does not mean you should rush, because rushed files are exactly the sloppy files this era punishes. It means the opposite of drifting. Get your facts, your numbers, and your documents examined now, so that when you finally decide, you decide on real conditions and real figures instead of nostalgia for a market that no longer exists. One more mental upgrade before we finish. A second passport is a brick. Your life needs a building. Where does your company sit? Where do your bank accounts live? Where are you tax resident? And does that story hold together when three different authorities examine it from three different angles? For one client, the right answer is Turkish citizenship combined with a European company. For another, it is Gulf residence plus continental banking, with citizenship arriving later in the sequence. The point of the new era is that these pieces are judged together as one picture. Optimizing a single number while the rest of your life contradicts it, that was the old game, and the old game is over. Designing a structure where the passport, the residence, the banking, and the tax story reinforce each other, that is the game that still works. And it is the only game we play. So yes, the golden age of cheap and easy is over. What replaced it is the age of structure, and structured doors are still open. Turkey is the clearest of them all. Defined roots, family in one file, no residence requirement, and a 20-year incentive waiting for those who settle. If this video touched your own plans, the natural next step is simple. Reach out to our team at Corpenza, bring your real situation, and we will map every route against your actual facts. Real conditions, current numbers, correct sequencing, and zero glossy promises. And subscribe to this channel because this market now moves in months rather than decades, and the next shift will reward the people who saw it coming. See you in the next one.